Most individuals don't discuss bladder cancer at the dinner table. In actuality, however, our risk can be subtly influenced over time by the foods and beverages we consume. The bladder is a tiny but essential organ that stores and filters waste before it is expelled from the body. It is exposed to the chemical residues of everything we eat on a daily basis. Certain foods and additives have the potential to repeatedly irritate cells and cause damage over time, which raises the risk of mutations that could result in cancer. Most people don't realize how much their daily diet impacts the health of their bladder. The foods we consider comforting or convenient can sometimes carry silent risks, slowly weakening the protective lining that keeps harmful substances from penetrating deeper tissues. Understanding these risks gives us the power to make more conscious choices and protect this often overlooked organ. Let's explore 8 of the most concerning offenders, foods that research has linked to a higher chance of bladder cancer, especially when consumed regularly over long periods of time. Deep-fried foods may be the most familiar comfort indulgence, yet they are also among the most harmful when eaten frequently. Those golden fries or crispy chicken pieces owe their crunch to a chemical process that forms acrylamide, a compound created when starchy foods are cooked at high temperatures. Acrylamide has been associated with DNA damage and increased risk of several types of cancer, including those affecting the urinary tract and bladder. When foods are fried in reused oils or exposed to very high heat, they also accumulate trans fats and oxidized compounds that cause chronic inflammation throughout the body. This inflammation doesn't stop at the digestive system, it affects the kidneys and bladder as well, constantly forcing these organs to work harder to filter harmful substances. Over time, this wear and tear can trigger cellular mutations. Switching to air-fried or oven-baked options helps reduce these risks, and incorporating steamed or grilled foods gives your body a much-needed break from the burden of toxic byproducts. Another contemporary temptation that, when used excessively, might subtly impair bladder health is artificial sweeteners. Saccharin and cyclamate, 2 sugar alternatives, have been hotly debated for decades. Many were alarmed when early animal research in the 1970s showed that high concentrations of these substances could cause bladder cancers in lab rats. Experts nevertheless advise moderation even though human research have not shown the same direct correlation. The concern lies in how these synthetic compounds are processed. They enter the bloodstream, are filtered by the kidneys, and pass into the bladder, where, with constant exposure, they may irritate or inflame the delicate lining. For those who consume diet sodas or sugar-free snacks daily, this chronic irritation may become a subtle but persistent threat. Reducing dependency on artificially sweetened drinks, and instead using small amounts of natural alternatives like stevia or honey, can lessen exposure while satisfying sweet cravings in a healthier way. Cured and processed meats are another major contributor to bladder cancer risk. Foods like bacon, sausages, ham, and hot dogs often contain nitrates and nitrites, preservatives that extend shelf life and enhance flavor. When these chemicals react with amino acids in the body, they can form nitrosamines, well-known carcinogens. Once in circulation, these compounds can travel to various organs, including the bladder, where they may interact with the mucosal cells lining its interior. Repeated exposure increases the chances of mutations. The World Health Organization has classified processed meats as carcinogenic, citing strong evidence linking them not just to colon cancer but also to bladder and stomach cancers. Replacing these items with fresh, unprocessed sources of protein, like grilled chicken, fish, or plant-based options such as beans and lentils, can significantly reduce your cancer risk. If you do choose to enjoy processed meats occasionally, keeping portions small and infrequent makes a meaningful difference over time. Excessively salty foods represent another underestimated risk. Many people associate salt only with high blood pressure, but the effects reach far beyond the heart and arteries. Diets heavy in sodium, often from packaged snacks, instant noodles, or pickled foods, can irritate the bladder wall and promote chronic inflammation. Over time, this irritation may trigger cellular damage, making the bladder more vulnerable to cancerous changes. Salt also alters the mineral balance in urine, promoting calcium excretion that can lead to bladder stones, another risk factor for long-term urinary complications. Hidden salt is everywhere, especially in canned soups, frozen dinners, and fast food items that seem harmless. Choosing low-sodium versions, reading nutrition labels carefully, and seasoning food with herbs or lemon instead of salt are simple steps that can spare your bladder unnecessary stress. Smoked and charred meats pose a different kind of danger. When meat is grilled directly over an open flame or cooked until blackened, it produces chemicals called heterocyclic amines (HCAs) and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons (PAHs). These compounds form when fat drips onto hot coals or flames and the resulting smoke coats the food. Studies have shown that these substances can bind to DNA and cause genetic mutations that increase the risk of cancer, including in the bladder. Because the bladder filters many of these toxins as part of its natural detox process, its tissues are directly exposed to their effects. This exposure can accumulate over years of frequent grilling. To minimize this risk, avoid heavily charred meat, trim off burnt edges, and marinate proteins before cooking. Marinades with vinegar, herbs, or citrus have been found to reduce the formation of harmful compounds. Although food colors and preservatives may appear innocuous, a number of them have sparked worries about their potential long-term health impacts. Soft drinks, candies, and packaged meals continue to employ preservatives like BHA and BHT, as well as additives like red dye number 40 and yellow 5. Regulators permit them in small amounts, but some research indicates that prolonged exposure to high levels may eventually irritate or stress the bladder. Many of these chemicals are metabolized in the liver and excreted through the kidneys, ending up in the bladder where they can interact directly with its inner lining. Over decades, that contact may contribute to cellular changes. Choosing whole foods, those without artificial coloring or unnecessary additives, is one of the simplest ways to protect yourself. Even when you want color or flavor, natural alternatives like beet juice, turmeric, or spirulina can offer beauty and nutrition without the toxic burden. Highly processed and packaged foods combine many of these risk factors into one. They are often loaded with preservatives, artificial dyes, excess salt, unhealthy fats, and processed meats, a perfect storm for inflammation and toxicity. Research has repeatedly shown that people who follow a Western-style diet rich in processed foods tend to have higher risks of cancers of the digestive and urinary systems compared to those who eat more whole, plant-based foods. These meals may be quick and convenient, but convenience often comes at the cost of cellular health. By choosing fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, you support not only your bladder but your entire body's detoxification systems. These natural foods provide antioxidants that help neutralize the very chemicals responsible for oxidative stress and DNA damage. Tobacco-contaminated food and drink represent a more hidden yet powerful source of risk, especially for smokers. Most people know that smoking is the single largest risk factor for bladder cancer, but few realize that toxins from tobacco smoke can also settle on food surfaces or in the environment, entering the body through ingestion. Chemicals such as aromatic amines and 4-aminobiphenyl (4-ABP) are among the most potent bladder carcinogens known. In smokers, these compounds are absorbed into the bloodstream, processed by the liver, and eventually excreted through urine. As the urine sits in the bladder, the organ's tissues are repeatedly bathed in these toxic metabolites, which can trigger cellular damage and cancer formation. Even non-smokers who are regularly exposed to secondhand smoke or who frequently consume smoked foods may face increased risk. Quitting smoking and minimizing exposure to smoke-contaminated environments remain some of the most effective steps anyone can take to safeguard bladder health. The foods we eat each day might seem harmless, but over time, certain ingredients and cooking methods can quietly damage the body from within. The bladder is particularly vulnerable because it serves as a holding chamber for all the waste products filtered through the kidneys. Unlike other organs, it doesn't immediately flush everything out. Toxins can linger, making the bladder one of the most exposed organs when it comes to harmful compounds. The good news is that prevention is possible. By making mindful choices, swapping processed meats for fresh proteins, cutting back on fried or charred foods, reducing salt intake, avoiding artificial additives, and drinking plenty of clean water, you actively help your body heal and protect itself. Every small adjustment in your diet adds up to a significant reduction in risk over time. If you smoke, quitting is the single most powerful gift you can give your body. It doesn't just lower your risk of bladder cancer, but also of many other serious diseases. Remember that your bladder isn't just a passive organ sitting quietly in your body. It's an active filter, constantly cleansing your system and reflecting your overall health. What you choose to eat and drink directly determines how well it can do its job. Every choice you make, every meal, every drink, is an opportunity to protect your health or put it at risk. By staying informed, making small improvements, and treating your body with care, you can reduce your chances of bladder cancer and live a longer, healthier, more vibrant life. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might find it helpful if this message gives you a new perspective on the foods you choose. Someone's tomorrow might be saved by your knowledge today. We appreciate your attention, your concern for your well-being, and your continued awareness of the amazing body that puts forth so much effort to sustain your life. Keep yourself informed, take initiative, and, above all, take care of yourself.